If the reports are correct, we are 28 days away from the full reveal for EA Sports College Football 25. So obviously we're going to learn a ton about the game once that full reveal happens. We're going to learn a bunch of stuff we don't know yet, such as release date, cover athlete, specifics about Dynasty. We'll probably see gameplay, all of that. And over the past 2 years or so, we've gotten information over time and it's kind of built on top of itself. So this video is going to be just basically a place where all of that information is put into one place, one video. So this is going to be everything we know about College Football 25 ahead of the full reveal next month. So if you have a question about this game, hopefully this video answers it. Obviously there's stuff we still don't know. Like I said, the full reveal is about to happen, so we're going to learn a lot more. But everything that we do know is going to be in this video. So I'm going to start with the big stuff, the big generic stuff that you need to know about this game. And then as we go throughout this video, it's going to get to some of the more specific stuff, some of the more random stuff. So obviously this new video game is going to be called EA Sports College Football 25. People will probably just call it CFB 25 for short. And as you'll notice, there is no NCAA licensing in the name. There's also no NCAA licensing in the game. So the NCAA is not a part of this video game in any way. So you won't see the NCAA listed anywhere, you won't see the logo anywhere. Like I said, they're not a part of this game. Which also means that EA does not have to abide by any of their rules or requests regarding a college football video game. So according to reports, like I said earlier, the reveal date is May 16th. The release date is reported to be July 19th unless anything changes. So that's the two target dates for EA. Reveal date, May 16th, release date, July 19th. So we're getting super close, which is very exciting. This game is only releasing on next-gen consoles, which is Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. A PC release is still to be determined. They haven't announced it yet. I assume that would be part of the full reveal if it is coming out on PC, or maybe they'll at least confirm that it's not coming out on PC. I hope it does come out on PC, but honestly, it doesn't look too good. But we do know it's coming out on Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5, and it is not coming out on Xbox One and PS4 or any Nintendo consoles. The game will be $70 when it releases, or $69.99. The game is built on the Frostbite engine, which is the same as Madden. A lot of people are upset about that, but the Frostbite engine is used for lots of games, including Battlefield, which is a first-person shooter. So obviously, just because it's built on the same engine as Madden doesn't mean it's going to be Madden. And EA has said they're trying to capture the difference between NFL football, Madden, and college football in this video game. So the game will have all 134 FBS teams. You can easily Google those 134 teams to find out who they are, but it will not include any FCS teams at launch. They talked about maybe down the road like DLC, or maybe like next year CFB 26, or the year after that 27, they'll add FCS teams, but we know at launch for College Football 25, there will be no FCS teams, only the 134 FBS teams will be in this game. And these 134 schools have been submitting assets to EA for years now. So this would include stadiums. That was like the first thing they did, because that takes a lot of time for EA to render into this game. But stadiums, facilities, which is cool to see, not just the stadium, but the surrounding facilities. So that would be like the locker room, the weight room, things like that. The fans, jerseys, mascots, all of that. All the schools have been submitting those things, and EA has put those things in the game over the past few years. Dynasty mode and Road to Glory mode are both returning in College Football 25 from the previous NCAA football games. Those are obviously the two most popular game modes in the previous games. They're the fan favorites. They're 100% coming back. They've already announced that. And Dynasty is supposed to be the focus of this video game. So supposedly they are putting most of their effort and time into Dynasty to make it an awesome experience. We also know that Ultimate Team is returning from NCAA 14. I believe NCAA 14 was the first college football game to have that game mode. Obviously, it has developed and changed a good bit since then, and EA has already confirmed that the game mode will have CFB legends from the past. So you can think like Tim Tebow, Lamar Jackson, Desmond Howard, Manti Te'o. The list goes on. All these guys we loved watching in the past. They will be in the Ultimate Team game mode. Hopefully these college football legends will be playable in other game modes, but we do know they will be in Ultimate Team. The real life college football players will be in this game. That's obviously one of the big differences from NCAA football. They couldn't pay players in the previous years to include them in the game, but now they can. So these players have to voluntarily opt into the game. They get paid $600 and a free copy of the game to be in this game. So just the other day, One Team Partners, who EA is using to basically get the group licensing for these players, they announced that over 12,300 players have opted into the game. So that is over EA's goal. EA has promised to have 85-man rosters for each team in this game. So some of these players are actually going to be, they have opted into the game, but they will not actually be represented in the game. Because if you do the math, 85 times 134 comes out to a little over 11,000. And like I said, over 12,000 have opted in. So just because you opt in doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be in the game. The only big name that we have heard so far that said they're not opting in, and keep in mind this is technically not coming from the words of the actual player, it's just a report, but the reports are Arch Manning is not going to opt into this game. So he is the only big name so far that has been rumored to not opt into the game. I'm sure there's a few more, not many, but I'm sure there's a few more. There's a good chance we don't find out though until the game releases and we look at the rosters and we're like, hey, this guy's missing. Matt Brown has said that a few face scans may be in this game, but the overwhelming majority of these guys will not get any face scans. They sent in headshots of themselves to EA to recreate in the game. And players that don't opt in, such as Arch Manning, they're simply going to be replaced by a generic player that is based on the average strength of that position for that school over the past decade. So Arch Manning, for example, if you look at Texas quarterbacks over the past decade and kind of get an average of how good they are, that's how good Arch Manning's replacement is going to be. We also know that create a player is going to be in the game. However, you cannot create players that opted out. So if Arch Manning does in fact opt out, you will not be able to create a guy named Arch Manning. EA supposedly has a system in place that will prevent players from creating these opted out players. We don't know exactly what that system is, but they said they have one in place. So again, you probably, like if Arch Manning opts out, for sure, definitely not gonna be able to create a player named Arch Manning, but I'm sure it's gonna be a little more complicated than that. And we can also not edit these real players. So the players that are in the game, we're not gonna be able to edit them. Now I'm hoping that means we can't edit like their biography stuff. Like obviously you can't change their name or their height and their weight and all that. But I'm hoping I can edit their, speed and catching and throwing, because that has nothing to do with their NIL. That has something to do with the video game, and I don't trust EA to put accurate ratings in the game. So again, we can't edit NIL players, but hopefully that simply means we can't edit their real life personality biography stuff. Another thing that's been confirmed about rosters is that we will get in-season roster updates throughout this life cycle of the game, which is super cool to see because we didn't get that in the past. So if there's like a player that isn't known at first at the beginning of the football season, and then midway through he's like a starter and he's balling out, he's gonna get a rating boost. So his overall might have been like 70 to begin with, but then they bump him up to like an 85. So that'll be cool. It'll also be cool to see there's gonna be players that aren't even in the game to begin with, and then in that next roster update they're put in the game because they're a big part of a team. Another feature that will be new to College Football 25 that was not in NCAA football is we're going to have multiple broadcast crews. So it's not going to be just one group of guys calling your games every single time you play. It's going to get mixed up. So we know that the guys that are in the game are Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, David Pollock, Kevin Connors, Jesse Palmer, Reese Davis, and Desmond Howard. We know Kevin Connors specifically is the in-game and halftime report guy. So he's going to provide like the studio updates. So he might like cut in for a second and be like, here's an upset brewing in Columbus, Ohio, or something like that. So good to know that about Kevin Connors. We can assume Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit are going to call games, and then we don't know kind of after that. We do know also College Game Day is in this game. So, Kirk Herbstreit, Jesse Palmer, Reese Davis, Desmond Howard, those guys will probably all be on game day. I'm not sure about David Pollock because he no longer works for ESPN, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not exactly sure what his role is going to be, but those are the 7 guys we know are in this video game. Another thing that was reported by Matt Brown is that user-created content will be in this game. So we don't know exactly what that means yet. I'm hoping it means team builder. I hope it means create a school. So you'll be able to, go in and make your own school, customize the jerseys, the field, and all that. But we don't know for sure. It could mean something as simple as create a player, which I already mentioned, because technically that's user-created content. Hopefully it means team builder. But we know to some extent user-created content will be in College Football 25. The transfer portal is also confirmed to be in this video game. Transferring really wasn't a big part of the NCAA football series back in the day. Obviously, transferring is massive now in modern college football, so the transfer portal is a must. We know it's in Dynasty. We're not sure about Road to Glory yet. I assume it's in there as well. We'll have to see. And we also know that you can transfer multiple times in Dynasty mode. So these players can go to multiple teams. Originally, they were programmed to only be able to transfer once. EA changed that to where they can transfer more than once. The college football playoff is obviously confirmed to be in this game. You couldn't have a college football video game without the playoff. The 12-team playoff is what's going to be happening in real life, so I assume that will be the default playoff in this video game, but it's basically assumed you'll be able to change it from 12 teams to 4 teams, hopefully up to like 16 teams. I'm hoping you can do something crazy like 64 teams, but that's not confirmed yet. But we do know the college football playoff is in this video game. Name, image, and likeness, aka NIL, is also in this game supposedly to some extent. We don't know exactly how it's going to be used. It's going to be interesting to see if it'll play a big part in recruiting in Dynasty, but we have very little details about it other than the fact that we know it's in the game to some extent. Here's a big one. The National College Football Awards Association is not in the game. They hold the licensing for multiple big college football awards such as the Biletnikoff, the Maxwell, the Outland, and a lot more. So none of those awards are going to be in College Football 25 unless something changes. EA has already said that they will simply replace those awards with their own. So I assume it'll still be for the same thing. Like the Biletnikoff, instead of it called the Biletnikoff, it might just be called like the Best Wide Receiver Award. Maybe they'll give it an actual name. I've said in one of my previous videos, I would love to see it named something like the Ostrander Award, paying homage to Road to Glory back in NCAA 14. I think that'd be pretty cool. But either way, those awards are not going to be in the game, and EA is going to replace them with their own. However, you might be worried and asking, is the Heisman in the game? Yes, the Heisman is going to be in the game, thankfully. So although those other awards will not be in the game, the Heisman Trophy, which is obviously the most prestigious and important award, that will be in College Football 25. One thing that is really good to see is that realistic commentating is supposed to be in this game, like more in depth than we've ever seen before. Chris Fowler has been kind of updating us on Instagram, just posting videos talking about what he's been recording for the game and just some of the very, very specific moments and details that he's been describing to us that he's recorded for this game is kind of insane. So the commentating is supposed to be basically some of the best commentating we've ever seen in a sports video game, or at least a football video game. Unfortunately, real coaches will not be in this game, so you won't see Kalen DeBoer, you won't see Ryan Day, you won't see Kirby Smart. None of those names will be in the game. None of those faces will be in the game. They said they may add them down the road. Again, that could mean like DLC, or that could also mean like CFB 26. But unfortunately, they will not be in CFB 25. But the fake coach that they put in their place, I assume, will basically just be like the actual coach. And they've already said, like, obviously, the school is still going to play the correct play style. So, like, Georgia is not going to run the air raid, right? They're obviously going to run what they run in real life. A very cool feature that is going to be in this game is conference realignment, which we did have in NCAA 14, but it was pretty restricted. You couldn't really have as much freedom as you probably wanted. And so we don't know exactly what it'll look like in this game, but I'm assuming it's going to give you a lot more freedom. Basically, and I said this in my wish list video, we should be able to just be able to do whatever we want with conference realignment. You know, let me delete conferences, let me create conferences, let me move teams wherever I want. We don't know if it'll be that amazing, hopefully, but we do know that conference realignment is going to be in CFP 25. And we've kind of reached the point of this video where it's talking about more random, obscure stuff. So I'm just going to kind of hit on these. Virtual magazine covers are supposed to be returning in College Football 25. So you might remember back in the day, they used to have Athlon Sports and Sports Illustrated in Dynasty mode. That is supposed to be returning. Another good thing, if true, is that microtransactions supposedly are going to be kept to a minimum. We don't know exactly what that means. Obviously, it's pretty vague and it's coming from EA, so who knows if it's true. But if you play Madden these days, Ultimate Team has become a huge focus because EA makes so much money from people buying cards, basically, which is called microtransactions. And supposedly that will be kept to a minimum in CFP 25, which is great if true. We'll have to see. It is confirmed that every bowl game will be in CFP 25. However, not every single bowl game stadium will be in the game. So only stadiums that are current college campus sites or NFL sites will be in the game. So like the Fenway Bowl, unfortunately, Fenway Park will not be in CFP 25, but the Fenway Bowl will be. It'll just be played at, I don't know, a generic site. Maybe they'll make a generic baseball field. Maybe it'll just be played at a random, college stadium. Who knows? We have 2 confirmed equipment brands, which are Schutt and Visus. So those will be like your shoulder pads, your helmets, your face masks, all of that. Very random thing here, but Kevin Connors confirmed that players can wear hoodies under their jersey. So small, cool feature right there. And that kind of leads into the level of detail in this game. It's supposed to be very, very thorough, kind of insane apparently how thorough it's going to be, down to like patches and stitching on jerseys. And we know that there's different tiers for uniforms for these teams. So the number 1 tier is must-haves. So that's obviously like the main jerseys they wear most of their games. Those are obviously going to be in the game. The tier below that is rotational pieces that are high priority. So these are going to be in the game as well. These are like alternates that are worn frequently. And then the tier below that, the 3rd tier, are throwbacks and alternates that aren't worn as much. You don't normally wear a throwback often, but you do, maybe once or twice a year. EA is going to try to include as many of these as possible. The tier 4 below that is basically just potentially DLC. So everything after those first 3 tiers will not be in the game at launch. Tier 4 may be added as DLC. And then tier 5 is basically like it won't be included. They wore it once randomly in 2012. It's not going to be in the game. But there's supposed to be a lot of options with jerseys in College Football 25, which is awesome to hear. And that's going to lead to the last thing I'll talk about quickly is team personalization. Obviously, like each team is going to be different and be personalized, but it sounds like they're going to great lengths to make you be able to feel the difference of these schools. So fight songs and helmet stickers, crowd chants and noises, the stadium atmospheres, the mascots, all these different things are going to be in College Football 25 for each team. And so when you hop in a game, you're supposed to be able to feel the difference from these different stadiums. And you can tell, you're playing at Ohio State or at Michigan, at Penn State, at Florida State. All these different schools are supposed to have a personalized feeling. So that is everything that we know about College Football 25. If I missed something, definitely put it down in the comments. If you want something answered, definitely put it down in the comments. There's a good chance if it's not in this video, we don't have an answer for it yet. We'll find out here in 28 days with that full reveal, assuming it is on May 16th. I couldn't be more excited. Definitely subscribe to the channel to stay updated about this game. Follow me on Instagram at BringNCAA Back. I typically post everything there first, and we're almost back, boys.